So, more terrible news from Trump's racist and xenophobic border wall project. This is from the BBC. Burial sites blown up for U.S. border wall. Burial sites blown up. It's just nuts and disgusting on its face. And also, cacti that are over 200 years old have been have had sacred significance and have been chopped down. You can see some right there. Authorities confirm that, quote, controlled blasting has begun at Arizona's Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, a UNESCO recognized natural reserve. Raul Java, a Democratic congressman, told The Intercept the destruction is sacrilegious. The government failed to consult the Tohono O'odham Nation, he said. Environmental groups also warn of the damage being done to the local underground aquifer as well as to migrating wildlife in the remote desert region about 115 miles west of Tucson. Officials say the aim of the project is to construct a 30-foot tall steel barrier that runs for 43 miles on the national park land. This is on top of Monument Hill, a sacred site to multiple tribes that Department of Homeland Security is dynamiting right now to build the border wall. It's part of the historic homeland of the O'odham. Apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Apache are buried here. Trump waived the Native American Graves Protection Act to allow this. So again, just no type of respect or consideration for really anybody outside of himself. And obviously, it's not surprising that he got rid of that Native American Graves Protection Act when he's trying to actively create this just ridiculous racist and xenophobic border wall to try to keep migrants that are coming from the southern border from getting into the country. When if you're really that concerned about why people are coming here, maybe look at the conditions in the countries that lead to them migrating, or oftentimes the horrible policies that the United States has by empowering authoritarian governments, instituting the war on drugs, supporting various coups and things like that in Latin America. And it's just so just crazy and ridiculous that this is actually happening, and how sad that these graves, these really important sacred land and sacred plants that are on it, like those 200-year-old cactuses, are being cut down and destroyed for this ridiculous and illegal and racist border wall. So let's check out this video. I mean, look how it's a UNESCO heritage site for a reason. This is just amazing, beautiful landscape. And then you add in the cultural and ethnic significance to the indigenous people there. It's nuts. Look at that. Wow. So, this is the top of Monument Hill, a sacred site to multiple tribes, dynamiting right now to build the border wall. It's so sick and disgusting, man. Yeah. What is organ pipe? So this is about the area that they're not dynamiting and destroying for this racist and illegal border wall. The United Nations designated organ pipe as an international biosphere preserve in 1976, calling it, quote, a pristine example of an intact Sonoran desert ecosystem. Mr. Grijalva, again, apologize if I'm mispronouncing their name, the chairman of the House Committee on Natural Resources, represents a district that encompasses the area which shares 400 miles of border with Mexico. He toured the burial sites at the Oregon Pipe, known as Monument Hill last month, and is told that the Odham people buried warriors from the rival Apache tribe there. What we saw on Monument Hill was opposing tribes who were respectfully laid to rest, and that is one being blasted with dynamite. So they're literally blowing up these hugely important and sacred burial sites where the Odham people buried their Apache rivals, maybe ones that had died in battles or from whatever reason. They're buried on this Monument Hill that's currently being dynamited to make way for this just obscene and racist and ridiculous border wall. And that's Trump's trying to build. That's, again, why it's super important to elect for the Democrats to nominate somebody who can beat Bernie Sanders and get rid of all this ridiculous crap that Trump has been trying to do. And again, that's obviously Bernie. In interviews with U.S. media, he called the Trump administration's conduct sacrilegious and said the environmental monitor that the government signed to the project would do nothing to mitigate the cultural damage. Wow. One area contained artifacts dating back 10,000 years. Tribal Chairman Ned Norris Jr. told the Arizona Republic, even though land is now controlled by the U.S. government, we have inhabited this area since time immemorial. There are ancestors. There are remnants of who we are as a people throughout this whole area, and it's our obligation, it's our duty to do what is necessary to protect that. And again, it's like the indigenous peoples of the United States and, just more broadly have always had this close relationship and connection to the natural world as well as to each other and just other groups of people. And as U.S. as a settler colonial state, we've never really came to terms with how horrible we've treated the indigenous people in the United States and how we continue to do that. And something I found really interesting in one of my classes is that Native American tribes in the United States are, I think, the single biggest private landholder of wealth. But then the other question is, why are these communities often suffering from huge amounts of poverty and inequality? And it's because the government has oftentimes, when there have been resources identified on tribal lands, the government will come in and take those away, or they won't follow treaty rights and all of these things. And this is just another kind of further example of the mistreatment of the indigenous people of the U.S. by this just cruel and just disgusting destruction of these burial sites. So with artifacts dating back 10,000 years. I mean, it's nuts. There's the monstrosity itself, or a picture of it. Yeah, I'm totally what Raul was saying here. To build his racist wall, he's blowing up sacred Native American burial grounds without notifying local tribes, or just doing it in general. Even if you're notifying the tribes, oh, we're gonna go blow up Monument Hill. We know it's really significant and sacred, but we got to put this wall up to keep dark-skinned people out of the United States because I want to make it a white ethnic state because those people are more likely to vote for me. That's Donald Trump in a nutshell. What? An internal report from the National Park Service obtained by the Washington Post said the border wall Trump promised during his 2015 campaign would destroy up to 22 archaeological sites within Oregon Pipe alone. Crews are reported to have also destroyed ancient saguaro cacti, which Mr. Grijalva said the Odham people see as quote, the embodiment of their ancestors. So to see them turned into mulch, it's deeply upsetting indeed. The Trump administration has been able to build sections of the U.S.-Mexico border wall on public land due to the 2005 REAL ID Act, which gives the federal government the right to waive laws that conflict with the U.S. national security policy. And again, this isn't making the United States any safer, just making it harder for people who want to come to the United States to get here. And it's, obviously that's what it's intended to do. It's not making the U.S. any safer. It's just a further development of Trump's racist and xenophobic, policies towards pretty much anybody that's not a white person. In their bid to build the wall, the White House has waived dozens of laws, including ones that protected Native American graves, endangered species, and the environment. Mr. Grijalva said he will work towards repealing the 2005 Act, and will soon convene a congressional hearing in the coming weeks in an effort to do so. That's awesome. Kudos to Mr. Grijalva in that effort. And I hope, they're able to repeal that, because it's just totally disgusting, immoral, and racist, and just another example of why it's, I'm kind of ashamed of our government oftentimes, because they're doing horrible stuff like this, and it's just continuing to accelerate under Trump. Again, that's why it's super important we do everything we can to make sure Bernie Sanders is the Democratic